Hi, everyone. Welcome to the moon forecast for the new moon in Scorpio for November 4th, 2021. I'm Kendall Shawhan, the Bohemian Tarot Girl, and this is my co host, Amy. Amy, you want to give a shout out to yourself?
Hi, I'm Amy Aminette. I'm an intuitive energy coach and leader of women's moon circles. And we've been doing that for quite a while. And so we like to come on here and kind of talk about what you can expect with the upcoming moon and how you can align with it and flow with it and work with it and use it to your best advantage.
Yes. And so this new moon, when I looked it up, has that very similar feeling of the last three that we've had kind of come into play with us. And it's that little bit of change is happening. You might have some nervous energy. What were you feeling, Amy, when you looked
It
at it?
is it is kind of reminiscent of that because there are some key planets that are in play and some, squares between them. Before we had like moons that were squaring Uranus, and now we have this moon is going to be a Scorpio new moon. We've moved from Libra energy into Scorpio energy, and it's happening on November 4th, 2021, at 3:15 Pacific time. So adjust that time to wherever you are in the world. And it's happening at 13 degrees. And so the sun and the moon, when we have a new moon, are at the exact same place in the sky. So we'll have the sun at 13 degrees Scorpio and the moon at 13 degrees Scorpio. And new moons in general, we look at kind of like opening a door and what do we want to welcome in? What intentions do we want to set? What do we want to bring into our life? And what I've noticed about the last several moons is that usually with new moons, that's what we're doing. We're creating intentions, and with full moons, we're releasing. But there's been this really strange duality that's happening with each of these moons where we're being asked to kind of look at what we want to bring in and where we want to go, but at the same time, what are we willing to give up to get there?
Yep.
And this moon in particular is really going to be highlighting that because it is in Scorpio, and themes of Scorpio have to do with transformation and death and kind of going into the diving deep and getting like into like the underbelly of some things. And this is not a surface level energy at all. It's a very much a time for like kind of transmutation and growth, and maybe looking at some of the deeper, darker aspects of yourself and at humanity, and the world in general, and finding a way to embrace all parts of that, even the ones that may not be pretty, or the ones that may not feel light and easy to navigate. Like, it's time to really kind of take stock of the wholeness of the human experience and of being human and what that means, and then using that to your ability to um, move forward into a new chapter. And so there's this is not one of those it's not like a scary or a dark energy, but it's not necessarily one of those like light and happy and let's like make our vision boards type of
Yeah.
energy. This is like a soul deep
Mhm.
um embodiment. Like, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more and what's making that all come together. But as far as the last three moons, we've had this succession where Uranus has been a big player, and that's continuing. Um, Uranus is a planet that is in a sign for a long time, and it's been in Taurus since 2017, and it's going to stay there for another thing until 2024.
Wow.
So it's kind of making its way through. And Uranus is the planet of kind of like revolution and shaking things up, and um, looking at like the spiritual laws. There's a very spiritual aspect to it, but it doesn't necessarily play by the rules. And we've seen it as it's in Taurus, which is a very earthy sign and very methodical. So, and it has to do with Venus and with love and with the earth and with financial markets, your finances. And we're starting to see some of those things have kind of a shakeup. And the point of all of that is that it's trying to create a different way of how we work with those elements in our life. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I'm feeling that. And it does give me a little anxiety.
it can be. I mean, there's nothing, we always talk about, there was some, there's a quote that I've seen going around, me and quotes,
Yeah.
and it always talks about, there, how you have the transformation of the butterfly from caterpillar into a butterfly. And yet there's that point where it's in the cocoon and you think it's just resting, but it's actually completely deconstructing itself and turning
Mhm.
into quite a mess. And it's not recognizable as either a caterpillar or as a butterfly. And yet somehow, and that, you just know you have to go into that cocoon, and and trust that you're going to come out of it as something different. And you may not know it's going to be better, but ultimately better than how you went in. Um, and so I feel like this whole process of this year, and it's even going to carry on through 2022, we've been in this transformational process that's guiding us through. And it's, I think, completely normal for so many people to feel like a complete disaster a lot of the time. Um, a lot of people I talk to have that. And even myself, like, not immune from any of this. You can have an awareness and still be feeling all of the
100%.
things.
Yeah.
you know it's like, as long as you're on this earth, you are still an evolving human, and you're going to be experiencing all of these things. um I don't know of anyone who's reached enlightenment. I know there's a lot of people trying to reach that point. um but it's completely normal, I think, to feel like anxious and a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard of a lot of people who feel like they need to retreat lately. And I've been feeling that as well, almost like, um, I have to uh, kind of conserve energy for what's coming.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily even a conserve energy for something scary, it's a conserve energy because I'm going to be asked to be putting forth a lot of energy into whatever is transpiring next in my life. So I think a lot of people are in that same place.
Uh, I have just felt kind of stuck. Like
Mm.
now, when I had looked and found that information out about the three moons, because I was kind of pondering that, I was like, ugh, and I just feel like I've been stuck since like, mid to late August through this kind of time. And I just feel like things have not been moving and I feel unmotivated and just kind of anxiously waiting for something to happen. And I don't know if that's just in general, like the collective, that you're feeling and, part of the energy that's here. But man, I do not.
Well, we talked about it on the last full moon in Aries, that we had a lot of Libra energy
Mhm.
going on, and we had planets in retrograde, and that's not good energy for
Yeah.
moving forward or making decisions or being decisive about any form of action at all. And I think it was a good period of time where it was important to really take a step back and have an open mind and look at all possibilities and be open to different ideas of things and different ways that you could progress forward, but
Mm.
without having to really commit to any of it, because there was a lot of energy that was not very clear. And then the last moon, there was probably some clarity that may have come in for at some point in your life where you're either like, this isn't right for me, or this is what I want, or this is the direction that I feel is best to start making plans towards. Um, and we had a little bit of that, but it wasn't until we shifted away from that Libra energy, and we're seeing more planets that are moving into Scorpio.
Mhm.
I believe we are going to have Venus and Mars, the sun, the moon. So some of these like short-term energy planets have just moved into Scorpio. And Scorpio is a very decisive
I
energy.
like that.
And
Okay.
it's really interesting that that comes after being a
Libra
Libra.
is like,
No. And now we also have a lot of the planets have started to move forward too. And so I think we're going to have more clarity, more conviction in what we are deciding.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not going to be a mental thing because Libra's an air energy. So it's very um, focused on the mind. Um, Scorpio is a water sign. And so it has a lot to do with intuition and feelings. And so it may not make sense, but you're going to have this decisive, like, conviction
Mhm.
that you're supposed to go a certain way. Kind of a lot like that caterpillar is just like, I just have to make this cocoon now. Like it's time.
Yeah.
So um
I'm really hoping to get some like conviction coming up.
yeah. So this moon, there was a lot going on. Um, and the big thing that's happening, we talked about Uranus. So this moon on the 4th um, is almost exactly opposite Uranus. And
Mhm.
that only happens once a year. And so that is a very key moment when you reach that opposition, because there's usually something that you'll kind of discover that had been hidden, or there will be some kind of shakeup to some extent, and it'll probably be on a personal level, although it could be collective. But something's going to come to light that you're just going to kind of go like, aha,
Mhm.
that's what I was waiting for. And that's the game changer. And that's what's going to propel everything else from this moment forward. The other thing that is happening with this moon is that in 2 weeks, we have our first eclipse in the sign of Taurus, which will be a full moon at the Taurus full moon. So it's on that Scorpio Taurus axis. And those are the first eclipses we've had in that sign, I think, for this in 9 years. But it's an 18-year cycle because we're looking at like North Node, South Node
Gotcha.
stuff. Um, in 9 years ago, they would have been opposite. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm not sure which one's north and which one's south, but it has been 18 years since they were in this exact positioning.
Interesting.
So look back 18 years,
Mhm.
see kind of maybe some of the general themes that were happening for you, because almost guaranteed similar themes are going to be coming around back again, and not the same, because you've already had lessons and had experiences with that, 18 years ago. But it's another quote, like, you keep coming back around to the same thing, but you're spiraling up at the same time. It's
Mhm.
not like you're just coming around circle after circle. You're actually like elevating yourself to the next each time you go around, like going up a spiral staircase. So that's something to really kind of look at, is that even though that eclipse is happening in 2 weeks, with the moon being new and going to full, this is the start of the buildup of that energy. So, and eclipses will last, believe it's going to last throughout 2022. We're going to be having eclipses in the same signs. So it's a long-term portal.
Oh joy.
Portal energy. Like, we're moving through something, and some part of your life is going to be going through a transformation.
Big change, yeah. Wow.
I
It's a little.
know.
I'm trying not to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And just live in the moment, right? Every day.
Exactly. And I think it's good to be prepared so that you're, at least when an energy comes around, you don't go, what the heck? Like, what is happening? You kind of have an idea, okay, well, I sort of was preparing myself for something.
Hmm.
And now I recognize what it is and I can understand what it's for. And then it's not this overwhelming um, sense of energy that's coming in and you're feeling a little like
Yeah.
lost in it.
I actually really like that you said like the word game changer, because to me that's like it's a little more positive context than I think, we've been assigning these moons, like where we have these like constant like change, and it can bring out some maybe like slightly negative feelings in us, related to like anxiety and, just general concern. But, you know, picking out those pieces, like that game changing piece, and like really writing that down and like defining that. And, I'd be on the watch for that. I like that.
Yeah.
I
I
like,
mean, change for a lot of people is never easy or comfortable.
no.
Um, but ultimately, there's a reason that you're being asked to change and a reason why you're feeling propelled to go in a certain direction.
Mhm.
And with Scorpio being such an intuitive energy to it, it's almost has that it's very instinctual and it's very I don't I keep wanting to say it's very black and white, whereas Libra is like kind of very gray, like all scales of gray.
Flashy.
Um, Libra energy is like, no, this is right and this is wrong. This is what I accept. This is not what I accept. There's a very definitive element to it where um, you won't be wondering so much if
Yeah.
you're doing the right thing. There's going to be a sense of
This is what you should be doing.
directness.
Whereas like
Mhm.
I'm a Libra, I sit here and weigh both sides all the time.
All the
So
time.
I love that clear. I need some clear direction.
Uh-huh.
Come on here.
Um, yeah. But at the same time, we're entering fall, and I think that it's very telling that Scorpio season begins right in the middle of fall. And we're heading in towards like the winter, it's that in between. And I listened to a podcast a long time ago, and it was about the dark the dark goddess archetype. Um, and the story was about Persephone and how she would spend half of her time up above ground, in the spring and with the flowers. But then every winter she would kind of like descend into the underworld. And I think that Scorpio energy is very comfortable diving into kind of the things that aren't so pretty and aren't so light and aren't so bright, and are able to navigate some of those layers that a lot of people tend to try and be avoidant of. And this isn't a time when you're going to be able to be avoidant. Like, there's you're going to have to take a good look at yourself and at your own shadow side and your own humanity and then your own spiritual side. And it's kind of like this integration of your wholeness, and embracing it all and embracing your journey. And really, no matter what it looks like, accepting that this is the path that you're traveling.
Yeah.
And even though you have choices on how and where you want it to go, you can't avoid some of the things that are on that path. You just
100%.
have to journey through it. And you have the tools and you have the intuition and you have the ability to go on that path, or you wouldn't have chosen it. And so that's where a lot of the trust factor comes in, um, of just knowing that this is meant for you and this is something that you're capable of, and um, not second guessing what feels right. I know we talked a little bit about that last time, but that theme is going to continue. There may be some shakeups that happen with Uranus, especially because it's ruled by Taurus. There can be shakeups. A lot of the astrologers have talked about it affecting financial markets. We're also seeing, the supply chain issues starting with kind of the fallout of COVID
Yep.
and different things. Um, those are things that we're not used to having to worry about that may come into play. And so it's a good time to take stock of what you have, what resources you have, what you value, what you need and what you don't need, what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So just something to keep in mind that may be a factor over the next couple of months until we kind of move. The last square, the last Saturn Uranus square, right?
Yep.
Is December 24th.
Yeah.
So that will kind of ease a lot of the tensions that we've been feeling from that kind of restrictive energy that wants to come in and have this tug of war with each other. So get a little bit of a reprieve. It's not, the energy doesn't really start fully changing. I mean, there's different levels of the way it changes, but it's not going to fully be alleviated. I've read until or heard from different astrologers until 2023.
Yeah.
So that's
very similar too.
Yeah. And insight. We made it this far.
Yeah, gotta keep the eye on the prize.
I mean, you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Get there.
Yeah.
Well, I pulled a couple cards. I'm using the Wild Wood Tarot, and it's kind of this, it's obviously their own take of it. And when I pulled the cards, I grabbed two. So the first one was Seven of Vessels, and it's morning. So I'll start with this one because it's a little more like, So I'm going to read you the meeting. This is a time to honor what is dead and mourn what has gone. Learn the lesson of letting go by offering thanks for cherished memories and by being at peace with the past.
Mm-hmm. That's a very Scorpio energy.
And then the next one that came out was 17. It's the Pole Star, and this is a beautiful card.
It is.
It's really beautiful. And he's like walking through a tunnel. Is he walking through or coming out? Looks like he might be coming out of a tunnel of trees. So when we're talking about this, it says on the position of the wheel, the pole star is placed at, I never know how to say that. It's embolic, the IMBOLC. It's February 1st.
Okay.
It is associated with the new moon and universal lore that stands between the elements of earth and air. Interesting enough. So the pure white light of the pole star illuminates the dark void of the universe and casts its radiance upon the earth. The star represents the remotest power in the celestial sky and the interaction and fusion of particles that produce light and heat. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's mainly, which is funny because that's exactly what we're talking about.
I love it when the cards work like that. And to have to do with the new moon too.
Yes.
So
exactly. And ending in February. And we have that energy that there's some there's a little free up of energy, I know, as it comes into February of this year. So
yep. There'll be some things that feel a little more settled by then.
Yeah.
It's just getting through the next couple of months. There's some pretty intense energy, and it's just something to be aware of. Sometimes there's just intense energy.
Yeah.
And you just have to, what can you do? You can't can't avoid it.
No. It's gonna come no matter what.
Yeah. I just think it's really important with this moon. Of course, set your intentions, but be honest with yourself about what it is that is most important to you. Some moons, we talk about how you should shoot for the stars and make big wishes. This is more, And if you want to do that, you can. But I feel like this energy is wanting you to be a little more honest with yourself, um, about what it is you truly value and what it is you really want and what's important for you. Um, but also to recognize that in order to get those things, you may have to be willing to let go of some things you've been holding on to,
Mhm.
um, that you can't take with you wherever your journey is going next. Um, it's also really important, and this is a big theme of Scorpio is ruled by Mars, which is interesting because the Aries moon that we had, the full moon, it was also Aries is also ruled by Mars.
Mhm.
Scorpio has two planets that kind of work with it. I believe the other one is Pluto. It's Pluto and Mars. Um, and it has a lot to do with kind of holding and honoring and recognizing your own personal power and exerting that in a way that creates kind of more boundaries and honoring yourself. It's very self-protective. We talk about scorpion energy. It has, you know, it has the ability to go out, but it also has the ability to retreat when needed and to protect itself. And I think having a sense of your own personal power right now is going to be super, super important in being able to navigate, the course of your path, during some more of the difficult times that
Yeah.
may or may not be happening for you. Some people, this energy may not affect them in ways, but for some, it may affect them greatly.
Mhm.
So, if you want to get more of a sense of where this is falling in your chart, you can pull up your own personal chart if you know your time of birth. Um, and it'll show you which house. Look for 13 degrees of Scorpio. It'll show you which houses it is in, and then you can look up what that house represents, and it can give you an idea of maybe the part of your life that could be changing right now.
Yep.
So
That's a good point. I like it. Anything else or no?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy listening to our conversation on the moons. And we'll see you at the next full moon, everyone. Bye.
You can also
Oh,
find us. Well, you can find me at Wise Moon Energy on Facebook.
oh yeah.
Uh,
And you can find me at the Bohemian Tarot Girl on Instagram or Facebook.
you would love to have you join us there.
Mhm. Very much. See y'all later.
Bye.